Hi, I'm Monty George. I'm co-founder of Furniturebox.
Hi, I'm Dan Beckles and I'm co-founder of Furniturebox.
Dan and I, we were best mates at school. So since the age of 11, we played on the same football team. We were causing trouble in class, that sort of thing. And I used to sell all throughout school. So I sold everything from pest control to consumer electronics to dirt bikes. And when I got to 17, I decided, okay, what's the next step? How am I going to progress this as a company? And just as I was doing that, Dan was about to head off to university. So I said to him, do you want to do this with me? I think I see an opportunity here in furniture. And fortunately he said yes, and 8 years later, here we are.
We then set up on Amazon and started doing well through there. We then went to Tesco Direct for a bit while they still had furniture. And then shortly after that, it was at that point that we said, let's set up a website. So we didn't initially start with the website. It was probably about 2 years, year and a half after we'd initially started selling on eBay, that we thought it was good to start creating our own brand, because we could see that trajectory, we could see where we were going. And although channels have been a fantastic place to get us to where we are now, our website's our biggest channel, and we want to grow that brand, not just in the UK, but internationally as well.
So we realised, I think after about 3 years, that actually the manual work that we were putting in wasn't scalable, and we needed a solution that was going to cater for the growth. So we went down that process of scoping, and I think it was our initial web agency that suggested Bright Pearl. Obviously we're a Southwest company, so we're Bright Pearl. And I remember the initial calls thinking, wow, this is going to be incredible, but there's going to be a lot of work. And seeing Bright Pearl for the first time, thinking eventually we're going to be masters of this and be able to use it to a good effect. And yeah, that process did take a long time, but it was very worthwhile, and obviously brought our business up to a standard, which means that we've been able to scale since.
It got to a point about 2 years in where we said, right, we've got a bit of money that we could put towards a website, because as you know, websites aren't cheap to build and run, and we'd never sold outside of a channel before that. We traditionally, and still do now, a lot of bundles with our dining sets. The Magento platform was recommended as the first port of call. So we built a very basic site. We probably only had about 100 SKUs then, so not a massive amount of SKUs. There wasn't a huge amount of work. So that's sort of how we started on the website path. And obviously since then, there's been a lot of changes.
There was a lot going on during the early years, and we weren't necessarily as calculated as we are now. It was a lot of winging it, seeing what happened, learning fast. It was very busy.
For a number of years, one of the big problems we had is that we were just installing patch upon patch upon patch, and slowly the cracks were starting to show. We would have a lot of technical issues with the website, things going down, things breaking that were part of these fixes on top of fixes. It got to a point where we were losing so much revenue from not having a stable site that we had to make a decision, and we said, right, what we either can do is we can completely strip back the site and rebuild a Magento 2 site, or we can look at something else. This then had a bit of a discovery process, and BigCommerce came up. And personally, I hadn't heard of BigCommerce before, but it was brought to us, and it looked like a fantastic solution. It was more simplistic. It was also hosted on its own server, which was really useful for us because we'd had a lot of server issues with Magento. And in terms of what we were looking for with bundle complexities, it really fitted the bill. So, and price point as well was very important for us, because at this point we still weren't able to invest a huge amount. And so looking at what was competitively priced for the offering was key.
Yeah, during the pandemic, we saw massive growth. We were one of the fortunate companies that had an online store, having home product in an environment where people were only at home and could only shop online. So we were very fortunate in that respect. And we saw very quickly that the potential was pretty immense. So we had to bring the business up to a point where we could actually cope with that volume. We had Bright Pearl implemented at the time, which proved to work exactly how we wanted it to, and then quickly our attention turned to how we can bring the business up to a point where we are now. It was the right time to invest in a website, and I know we mentioned the discovery process we went down. We wanted a website that was going to be able to cater for things that we wanted to do and be more agile than we currently had with Magento, and BigCommerce ticked all the boxes.
I think if we were to do it again, the big problem we found was that the agency we initially went for wasn't the right one for us. We perhaps didn't scope it as well as we should have done. We ended up spending a lot more time and more money than we initially had planned for with the agency we went with, and then Unfortunately, we managed to find 5874 who did a fantastic job. And after launching live, there were a few issues that we were facing, and we weren't confident in the original agency, so we moved across. So in hindsight, I think it would have been a more thorough review process on which agency to go with.
Well, we've really appreciated the candidness of 5874. We've found with other agencies potentially they're just paying lip service to what you want to do, whereas we found that 5874 have really been completely transparent and actually thinking about what we're trying to achieve and maybe suggesting things which we found quite rare.
A lot of our tools we actually changed across now, a big one being our merchandising tool. The previous merchandising tool we were using wasn't working as it should have been, and for us it's huge to be able to get the right product to the customer at the right time. So we've since installed a new product called Search Spring, and that's been fantastic for us. It's been really easy to use. In the month after installing compared to the previous month, we saw conversion rate rise by 10%, which is fantastic. Our revenue rose by over 100% as well. So obviously that needs to be taken with a pinch of salt given which quarter we were going into. However, we have seen huge results, and one big thing we saw, which was particularly pleasing with Search Spring, is that in the same time frames, an additional 40% of new product was bought. And so a big thing for us was looking at getting the right product to that customer at the right time. And what we felt we had previously, or we were lacking previously, was the ability to do that. Whereas with Search Spring, we were able to pin products that are right for customers in certain categories, and we're able to add different logic.
So there's a few things that we've implemented and are hoping to implement. So one thing that we have is a delivery date calendar selector. So in this day and age, there's lots of companies that aren't using it, and with a large product, if the person isn't home, that can cause a lot of issues, both with things like damage, customer satisfaction, returns, that sort of thing. And also for consumer confidence as well. If someone's buying a large price item, they want to know exactly when it's going to arrive. So that's been installed, and we've also got in the pipeline as well a variable delivery date window. So you can buy two separate products. One of them might be made to order. That can be delivered at a different date to the next day delivery offering that we have on site.
From a technology side, we've always been, or tried to be, a technology-based company. So we're always trying to be efficient and make improvements where we can. So next year is a really crucial year for us because not just on the website, but beyond that, we're developing a new iPaaS. So this will give us complete flexibility. It's a company called Jitterbit, and it will mean that we can build our own API connectors into places like Brightpearl, into places like Pimberley. That's incredibly important for us because where we sell on lots of different channels and internationally, part of the issue we've had has been a lot of manual work on those new channels, whereas this will mean that we can do it ourselves. We can control it ourselves as well. We want to be the service destination for furniture within the UK, and it really starts with the website all the way through to the delivery process. So we're very proud to announce that we've recently launched our 8 PM next day delivery cut-off window, which as far as we know is the latest cut-off point for heavy bulky furniture in the UK. We then want to look at the additional services we can offer customers. So as Monty mentioned earlier, one of these things is giving customers the choice of date that they want their delivery on. Another one we're going to look at is a choice of delivery service, because people might say, actually, although the item's quite small, I live up on a flat and I'd like some help getting it up there, or I'd like it taken into a room of choice. So we're going to look at all of these sort of things, as well as offering customers those additional things that might make life easier for them, such as an assembly service, or it could even be other things like offering them a warranty, extended warranty. So we're all about service, and now that we've got a stable checkout, we're going to be looking at tweaking things to improve that service level and cater to every customer we can.
I think we in the team are really excited at Furniturebox about the future. I think obviously Dan and I are 26, we're heading up the team, but we've got a great team of people around us as well. We built a lot of physical infrastructure, so the place we're sitting now is a big project that's now done, and this operation's working. We've got a proven recipe, if you like, to really drive forward. We launched in the US as well 15 months ago, and last month we saw 1,000% uplift year on year. So there's exciting things that are going to happen, hopefully, with trade, with the EU, with the US. And I don't think we can really talk about our expansion without talking about technology as well, because the two are interlinked. We want to be that customer destination for furniture, and we want to do that on a massive scale. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that our customer offering stays exactly the same as we scale. And technology is a massive part of that, both with BigCommerce, both with Bright Pearl or whatever platform we're using. Yeah, it's absolutely integral.